Welcome. Welcome to the second day of the 11 days of global unity. And this day, we're going to be talking about interdependence. And this is the day of interdependence, and we have a great group of individuals that are here today to share in that conversation, to talk about what it is that we need. So just to kind of get us all in the room, in the Zoom room, sometimes these virtual settings are a little difficult to do that, but I want you to just to take a moment and help me arrive to be here in this moment with all of you and the great presenters that we have to talk about this idea about interdependence, what it means to be interdependent, to belong to each other, to belong to all of life. And what are the things that we need to do to begin to mend the sacred hoop of humanity so that we can create the world that works for all. And I'm going to over to Rick Ulfik right now to kind of tell us a little bit about We the World and what these 11 days are all about. Rick?
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. And it's great to see everyone here. We have a really excellent presentation and show today. My name is Rick Ulfik. I'm founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. And I'm also the co-creator.
Sorry about that, Rick. Rick, can you start again? There was a little Zoom glitch in there. You froze.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. Let's hear it for editing. Too bad we can't edit our life experience, edit out those difficult moments in life. Okay. Thank you, Shannon, Crossbear, and my name is Rick Ulfik. I'm founder of We the World and the We campaign at we.net. And I want to welcome you all here to be part of 11 Days of Global Unity. As Shannon said, this is the second day of our 11 days, and the focus is on the theme and the campaign of interdependence. And you can find out more about 11 Days of Global Unity and the 11 campaigns for change, and actually collaborate with us as a partner or a volunteer. We have a change agent network of people and organizations around the world, and you can get involved by going to we.net. You can find out the schedule, what's happening all these 11 days, look at the recordings after the fact, and all of that at we.net. So I just wanted to let you know a little bit of the history of this day, which we call Interdependence Day. We had this idea of creating Interdependence Day back in 2002, and we launched it at the Global Summit on Sustainable Development in 2002 in Johannesburg, South Africa, which was 10 years after the first summit on sustainable development. And at that ceremony, we had a dear friend of ours named Angangak Liebert, who did a ceremony. He lives up in, near the Arctic Circle. And so an interesting thing happened. After we did that, within about a year or so, we were contacted by someone named Benjamin Barber, who actually had organized and led a movement for interdependence. And he and his team searched the globe to find out other groups that were involved with interdependence. And since we had launched Interdependence Day, he found us and we kind of teamed up. And his idea was that interdependence, or let's say on September 11th, when we had the tragedy of the terrorist attacks, which took place in the United States, in New York and DC, et cetera. That was September 11th. So his idea was September 12th is the day where people understand that even a tragedy in one location can affect the entire planet. And in fact, that particular tragedy did affect the entire planet. So his idea was to put Interdependence Day on September 12th. And so each year we celebrate Interdependence Day on September 12th. And it is, of course, part of 11 Days of Global Unity, and it is one of the 11 campaigns. So I wanted to mention that. And another thing is that when we launched 11 Days of Global Unity in 2004, one of the many, many things that happened for that launch was that we launched a global declaration of interdependence that many people have signed. Jane Goodall has signed it, and then tens of thousands of people at this point have signed that declaration. And you can go to it right now by going to we.net/declaration. If you go there, you will see it. And later on the show, we're going to read it. I just want to say that. And let's get on with our guests today. And to bring everybody in, I'm going to introduce our host or co-host for today, who you heard a little bit from, but I'm going to let people know who she is in detail. Grandmother Shannon Crossbear is the coordinator of We the World's campaign for interdependence. She is a powerful, spiritual Ojibwe Irish woman whose purpose is to demonstrate and promote gentle healing. Shannon has worked with tribal and non-tribal communities in creating systems of care and circles of care, utilizing traditional intervention and promotion of culturally congruent practices. A skilled storyteller and educator, Ms. Crossbear works to improve conditions for future generations through protecting the freshwater sources. Thank you, and take it away, Shannon Crossbear.
Wow. Whenever I hear somebody read all that, I'm going, really? It's not, I do all those things, but I always tell people that first part, that I'm a beautiful, powerful, spiritual woman who utilizes my strength, my determination, and my spirit in order to promote gentle healing. And to me, all the other stuff is just stuff I do because that's who I am, right? That's who I come from and what I do. So, and this idea of interdependence that we're talking about today is, and the fact that I really have, such great guests on here, is about the fact that this is all what it's about: relationship, right? And our relationship to each other and to all that is. And being able to find ways in the world that get that expressed. And so, when I think about interdependence and the joy of being able to understand that we belong in this bigger way to all of life, and what that means and what responsibilities come with that. So as our teachings, the teachings that I've had have really been about what it means to be a human being and how to be a good relative. And so it always excites me when I have the opportunity to in my life to connect good people. There's a saying in a book called The Education of Little Tree where the grandma says, and she says, first thing you do when you find something good is to share it, because there's no telling how far the good will go. And I find that true. And coming to, to this conversation from the homelands of the Ojibwe people in northern Minnesota on Lake Superior. And here we are reaching out to all the places that we need to reach out to understand this interdependence and how important it is for all of us in order to mend that sacred hoop of humanity and bring us to where we need to be eventually, to that peace on earth. And so one of the people I got to meet along the way, and it's really interesting because whether it's with Rick, all
Shannon froze up.
or now with Brian, I first know who they are and what they want to do. And then I have this opportunity to really get to know them at a deeper level and all of the ways that they express themselves in the world. So, so with Brian, he leads the Writing for Your Life. It's a resource center and a conference center for spiritual writers and includes publishing in color and a conference series. And I had the opportunity to go to one of his series that he was doing in terms of Writing for Your Life. And then he's published, and I'll let you kind of discover all of that. We'll find some links for you. But more importantly, I think I just want to have Brian talk to us about why he came upon this project about, how to heal our divides and what brought him to that. And, just a little bit about what that's about.
Well, Shannon and Rick, first of all, thanks very much for including me in this program. It's really quite an honor. And it's an amazing, set of people and projects that you put together. So thank you for all the work that I know went into place for making that happen. So what Shannon's referring to, How to Heal Our Divides, is a book. It's a platform. It's an ongoing program, essentially to highlight organizations that are actually doing something practical and effective and real to heal various types of divides. So racial divides, political, religious, immigration related, between Indigenous Americans and European Americans and others. Just a variety of different types of serious issues that have been plaguing us for quite some time that a lot of us are finally getting fed up enough with that we feel like, we really need to address. So the way it kind of came about was there were two main things. One was that I felt after the election, I needed to do something about helping to solve the polarization that I saw in our country, which I've never seen to this degree. So I thought, okay, I need to do something, right? The second thing was that I was doing a lot of reading last year since I was at home more than usual, and a lot of good books about anti-racism and religious divides, political divides, et cetera, et cetera. They were predominantly written around, here's the history behind this issue. We're trying to convince you this is an issue, or look inside yourself to examine your own biases. All really good topics, but very little written about, okay, what do we do about it? And so between those two things, that's why I decided to start this project, How to Heal Our Divides. And this is the book. We self-published it in May. This is actually one of the advanced copies, so that's why it's got this little line across it, but it's How to Heal Our Divides. It's a collection of 33 different essays, all written by different people, most of which are speaking about various organizations that are actually doing something practical about various types of divides. So it was a thrill to bring it together and to work with all these people, Shannon included. Shannon wrote one of the chapters in the book, which I greatly appreciated. And that's how it all gets started.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit, Brian, because I know first the book came out. I mean, it was an amazing opportunity for me, and I thank you for that. And you know that I struggled a little bit because I wasn't so much representing an organization as I was kind of approaching it from a different way that really talked about this interrelationship and, you know, how important that was to attend to all of what we need to attend to. So the we mentality, right? Moving to that. So I know after the book came out that you also then you created a discussion guide.
Yes, that's right. So right now we have a discussion guide in two different formats. One is just a PDF that we give away for free on the How to Heal Our Divides website. The second form that we just launched is a paperback version. If people want to get a print version of it, they can go onto Amazon and order it basically at cost. But the purpose of the discussion guide, obviously, is to get groups, communities, churches, book discussion groups, what have you, to enable them to help discuss this and discuss the importance of it, the different aspects of it. You know, as you know, you said, and I also alluded to, it's like this is a pretty diverse set of people writing and different organizations writing. So we tried to cover quite a bit of ground, not just focus on one particular issue.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think that was one thing I really appreciated about it, because, you know, sometimes when we think about healing divides, you know, people go to a place where we have to all be the same, right? And that is absolutely the opposite of what needs to happen, is we all have to be fully ourselves, whatever that is, in, you know, culturally, and in our spirit, have to be fully ourselves. And I happen to have the advantage of living in the boreal forest, where every day I look out and I see what happens when you have diversity. And when you have diversity, you have health. You have a healthy forest because it has diversity. If it was all pines out there, not so healthy, you know.
Sure.
So, you know, thinking about us as human beings and how, you know, how this interdependence plays into our healthiness and how to acknowledge that, right? So, so when you think about this, the book, Brian, and the guide, so when we think about how does it get implemented, where do you see people using this? You know, if you talked a little bit about that in communities, or, you know, would it be religious organizations? How might it get out into the world?
Well, I mean, the main priority for both the book and the entire project is to build awareness about all the different options people have to get involved in something, right? And so I wanted to present a range of options for people to consider, you know, and you know, not that they have to just pick one, but I'm hoping to drive some activity, some action. You know, a lot of us have kind of been blessed with a lot of things and choices in life, and you know, speaking personally, I probably wasn't as active as I should have been to solve some of the problems that, you know, have been plaguing us for a long time. And so I want to get more people off their rear ends, you know, and to go actually, you know, start doing something. And when I say heal divides, I'm not trying to talk about glossing them over, sweeping them under the rug. That is so not the intent in this. The intent is to deal with things that need to be dealt with that we haven't dealt with. So I'm really just trying to, you know, help people identify options that speak to them the most, that from a practical standpoint, they think they can get the most involved in.
Yeah, that's great. That's kind of what the philosophy of we is all about is like, you know, when we think about it and we think about the three I's that make up the we, right? To inspire, to inform, and then to involve, right? And that's the whole idea. And so so one of the things that appealed to me about participating was that whole idea about, you know, inspiring others and involving others in, you know, in actively healing the divides, right? So yeah, so Brian, really, so thank you for being a part of that. Rick, did you have something you wanted to say? I see you raising your hand.
Yes. So I just wanted to applaud this effort that you have made writing this book, Brian, because for me, I mean, this is a huge topic for me, what you're tackling with this book. And for me, the messages of the media become the fabric of our culture. So in terms of healing the divide, what's happening in the media is crucial to making that healing possible. And the book that you've created is part of the media. So you are now in the media landscape, helping to make that shift towards we, as Shannon would say, and as I would say, but it's also about putting those messages out. And I wanted to ask you if you're aware of these two films that I've become aware of and some of our partners are involved with. One is called The Reunited States of America. Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't.
So it's about going, you know, it's actually a documentary about people who feel very differently about things and how they get to the point where they can communicate with each other and acknowledge that they have a different perspective, but then they can actually connect. And the other film was called Free Trip to Egypt. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
But Free Trip to Egypt was also, We the World was one of the launch partners for that a year or two ago. And it's about how I guess a Muslim businessman went to Trump rallies and offered a free trip to Egypt to get to know Muslims better. And amazingly, he found people that were interested to do that. And they went to Egypt and they spent like a couple of weeks living with Egyptian families. And they were, you know, you would never believe what happened. I mean, they fell in love with each other, basically, even though they wrote their families and said, "Oh, I'm probably going to be beheaded," you know, but the result was very different. So anyway, I just wanted to bring those two out because I thought, you know, you might be interested, other people might be interested, and these are all your book, and all of these are examples of helping to make that shift in our culture towards understanding and we consciousness, where we realize that we may be different and we have so much more in common than we have that's different.
One of the really frustrating aspects of media and, you know, kind of our world today is that all of these wonderful things are out there and they're very fragmented, you know, and people don't know about them. I didn't know about those two films you just described. I don't know about some of the organizations that, you know, we the world are affiliated with. I'm just learning about that now. And the same thing when I went to, you know, recruit organizations and people to contribute to how to heal our divides. I found so many that I'd never heard of before. And even since the book came out, I found so many more. And, you know, we just don't hear about all the good things on the nightly news that are going on across the world to do these things. And it's frustrating. And that's part of the reason for trying to do the book and trying to get out there, just as you are, to spread the word. And Shannon said it really well with your description that you described, at the beginning of the broadcast about when you find something good, share it, right? What a concept. It's what we all need to do, and there's not enough of that that's happened. So, I want to contribute my little piece to sharing.
Thanks, Brian and Rick. Yeah, this is exactly what interdependence is all about. It really
Absolutely.
is this. What is it when we talk about, collective intelligence, right? The collective, the power of the collective intelligence, the power of the finding each other. And, my grandmothers and ancestors used to say, well, actually, wasn't that long ago. I was at a meeting, we were saying this, but what it said was that, unfortunately, the kind of Western way of looking at things was to compartmentalize, that the Western thought process was that everybody they said what it was like being in a house with a lot of rooms, and all the things people went into the rooms and shut the doors. But in our way of being, this is the way that they would say it, is in our way of being, there are no doors or other rooms. We live in a round house and we're all in there together. And, and we need that it's so important that we have that, because that's what makes us live and thrive. And so, when here are all different opportunities that we have now to have these conversations. And it is, we've been conditioned, and it's scary sometimes. It was scary for me to open that door and say, oh, I see that most of the people that contributed to this healing the divides came from a Judeo-Christian, or, kind of the major, and I'm coming from a different world review. And I had, and I'm talking about things in a little bit different way. And even the way that I approached it, right? It wasn't so much an organization as this, what it would take to really understand a different way of being, which is relationship. My friend Menage Hill from Standing Rock, he said it at a meeting one time. I never forgot it when he said, if you want, he said to the audience that was predominantly non-native, and he said, if you want to know about us, go to the library. But if you want to understand us, come and live with us. And that's just what Rick was talking about, that opportunity. And what we have now with this kind of a forum is that we have the opportunity to meet each other, right? And to really be supportive and get those messages out. So I really, and in fact, Brian, just so you know, I have a little character called Born in a Cloud of Smoke, and she is offering books to those that are participating throughout the week.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
So yeah, so that's happening. And so, like I said, another kind of getting to know good people and having good people know good people. I want to just acknowledge Gwen for coming and being with us, and have her come on. Yeah, hi Gwen.
Hello, it's good to see y'all.
It's good to see you. And so, yes, so this was all about relationship too, wasn't it, Gwen? Because somebody that I worked with in the state of Oklahoma a number of years ago, when I was doing some of that systems of care work that Rick talked about and when he introduced me. And just so for those folks that don't know what that was is systems of care was all about changing the way that we work with families and that are in need of some help and who may have some mental health challenges or some other kinds of issues going on. So it was a way of switching the paradigm to really let families lead in their own healing practices and being able to include the community in that process. And so, anyway, a person that knew Gwen and knew me, and Gwen and I think had crossed paths sometime during that experience. And then she got a hold of me and said, here's what I'm doing. And she describes herself as a part of all and an initiator of the Connect All initiative for the most safe and hopeful possibilities, right? And she's done work in as a manager of hope and resilience. And I love the word resilience. And I love the word hope, of course, for the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health. And now she is at a different stage and rolling this framework out, right, for all of us. So Gwen, tell us a little bit more about you and about, how you came about this framework of Connect All.
Well, first, thank you so much, Shannon. When I reached out to you, you never know, right? And you just affirmed everything you just said about relationship and in your response to me. So you live what you talk about. So being a little vulnerable, I am neuroatypical, and I didn't realize the impact that it had on my life until just recently. And so there was a little bit of this learning about myself through this journey too. And so while that doesn't tell you a lot about me, it gives you a little context. So then a little over 4 years ago, I started having life experiences, those things that make you question and start searching. And I started searching for answers for myself and for someone I'm attached to and for every child and innocent, where I was like, I just need to keep looking and looking till I find these answers. And so through that search and the awareness it brought to my own life, I didn't understand what I did before that. I mean, just being very honest, that wasn't an understanding that I was raised with or understood. And so that awareness it brought to my own life led me to assembling Connect All.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the framework itself, Gwen? And
yeah, so and sorry, sometimes my thoughts are going faster than, and I gotta slow down a little bit. So it really does start with a question. How can we have the most safety and hopeful possibilities? And obviously there's a lot to that, and that's in that. But for now, we're here because of how we're interconnected. And so it was, how do we come up with this really pragmatic way to address all that we can address? We can't separate out issues. So how do we do that? And so I created what's called 5 through the filter as a framework. And I'll explain that, to help us as individuals and as community start reaching our global needs. And so if it's okay, I know some people it bothers if you use your hand when you talk, but I use my hand to explain this. So 5 through the filter is, how can I make the best decision in this moment? And it has 3 parts. And the first part is logic and connection. And let me explain that a little bit. I'll actually start with connection. That I need to be connected to myself and know how I function, stay self-aware, so I know if I can make a good decision right now. And then logic is, do I have kind of a checklist on, am I making a good decision as best I can? So for example, on the self-aware part, it may be, I'm feeling great, I'm calm, I'm centered. So I'm just going to run this decision through kind of my logic checklist to make sure I'm thinking it through well. Or it may be, I'm sick, I'm on this medication that's making me really groggy. So I'm going to call Shannon and ask and say, can you help me think this through? Because I know I can't. So that's the first part. And then the second part is, does it take me to the goal of having the most safety and hopeful possibilities, because I want all my decisions to go to that goal. And then the third part of the filter is every moment matters, and valuing the moment, every moment of our lives. So I know every moment that it might be my last moment, the cost of all we could be addressing, what could happen we aren't prepared for, how we are interconnected, and how whatever I'm doing or not doing impacts. And so I want to make the best decision I can in the moment. And I know it won't be perfect, but I still want to try and make the best decision I can. So that's the filter part. And so then the 5 is I synthesize life down into 5 things we can do every day. So the first one is what I refer to, even though it's all self-care, is basic self-care. So, and if we have someone we take care of, taking care of them too, right? So how do we just do that basic self-care? Then the second one is taking care of our environment, taking care of our planet, taking care of our world, and working on that. The third one is doing one thing to be prepared. The fourth one is doing something to understand and be a little more informed about our world. And then the fifth one is asking and helping others get involved on this need for us to have logic and connection and interconnected globally. And let me explain that just a little bit. And let me define what I mean by my words, because I know sometimes we have words and we don't understand how people are using them, right? So when I use the word logic, I mean to be able to objectively think things through and consider all the possibilities the best I can. And then connection, I mean 2 ways: that I'm connected to myself, I value myself, I know how I function, and I can stay self-aware. But then also that external connection, that I know why and how to connect with others. And those 3 things are skills that really aren't taught or taught as they need to be. And when we look at all of our issues and we kind of do this cross analysis of all the things we're looking at, every form of violence, child abuse, to the things we want hopeful possibilities for. If we did a risk factor analysis of them, what we see is that foundationally, this lack of logic and connection and understanding our interconnection is either the reason for them or the reason they aren't being addressed as the best we can. So if we start with the foundation and help people have those foundational skills and understand how we're interconnected, instead of us trying to solve everything from the outside, it helps us have that foundation to start healing from the inside. So that's kind of the basics of this framework. And it really kind of the goal is then, it helps us meet that need of, making sure everyone gets what they need the best they can. So anyway, there's ways of applying it, but I'll be quiet.
Oh, no, Gwen. No, that's great. A couple of things that just are, I really, first of all, I like anything that I can carry around with me because I forget things all the time. So anything that can help me stay on, that those are great things to help remember, right? And then the other thing that was really, really resonated was that you started with care of self. And, it's oftentimes in this interdependence in this work that we do, to create a better world, that we forget about the care for ourselves. We forget in the golden rule that it says care for others as you would care for yourself. So if you're not treating yourself so well, you might want to think about that, right? And so that all of that really speaks to, and it's it reminds us that the idea of being present. I think there's a whole thing about being present, right? And showing up and understanding that we belong to each other, and that we belong to the larger, that sense of belonging is so critical. I read an article the other day where somebody was saying they had been in a very tragic situation, and they talked about the two words that the person that made the difference in this tragic situation. And the two words were, "I'm here." And thinking about how powerful that is to show up, to say, "I'm here." And thinking about, Brian, going back to how to heal the divides, of you stepping up and saying, "You know what, I'm here and I'm going to contribute in whatever way I can to create a world that works for all," and Rick as well. So, those I think are, so when you think about, there's the kind of getting it out into the world. So when you think about when you're in Oklahoma, and as I understand it, you're in the process. This is a seed idea that has been growing, right? And that you're in a place where you're really thinking about how you're going to share it kind of locally, right, in your community, and then the larger community going out. So so when you think about that, where do you see it like showing up? Because I think one of the things that I heard you say was that you don't see that being taught. So do you see this as something that would be, implemented in schools or in home, or maybe both, in homes and schools and communities and, in faith-based settings,
So honestly, I have a list of multiple pathways, that there is no one pathway for this. How do you get to individuals? How do you get to communities? How do you get it globally? How do you make a version for little kids versus teenagers? Because 5 Through the Filter works regardless of age. It's just finding the right language. So like right now, obviously I'm here today. I'm also doing a training in a few weeks, a 3-hour training that not as an initiative, but actually as ethics, and then how this is ethical, and then ethical self-care. I am working on how do I get it through social marketing, and then how do we get trainings to people as a component of this to fill in those gaps we don't have. How you just said about being with people, that connection piece on the external, the why and the how to be connected, which goes back to healing our divides and all of that. That was something I discovered on my own journey to this was, and so I guess it was, I have my own journey that taught me this, but then also when I started looking at the data and looking at our world and seeing these really are things. So could we do videos people can access? Are there trainings we can get into workplaces? Are there, and when people don't have, technology, what are the different resources that can be created to teach this where they may not have the different technology access? So I really do have, like, what are all the different pathways to get this to people?
Yeah. So that's great, Gwen. And I would invite you to, connect more with We the World, and because this is interdependence, and this is how we really elevate good work being done. And, so I'm really excited. I noticed that we have, Rick, I don't know if you noticed that we have Brianna. I'm like, this is like a really happy day for me because I'm getting to hang out, even though it's virtually, but I'm getting to hang out with my granddaughter a little bit. So, Brianna, welcome to the Independence Day.
You mean
interdependence. I think it's all the same myself, but but this is I'm just so glad to see you. So and for those that are unaware, if you haven't got it by now, Brianna is my granddaughter, and she has been working with We the World. And she has also recently become a recipient of Ubiquity University's scholarship for peace and tolerance. And she comes to us right now, located too far away from me, in Colorado. But welcome, Brianna. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you for having me here. I'm always excited to be a part of these discussions.
So Brianna, if you were thinking about interdependence, what comes to your mind?
What comes to mind for me is community, and making sure that we're all supporting each other, supporting each other's well-being, lifestyles, differences, similarities, all of that. Just cultivating positive, progressive communities that rely on and take advantage of humanity and the better parts of it, in that we help each other and we do things for each other and we live unselfishly to work towards the greater good, and to benefit the whole community instead of just certain people or whatnot. And I also think about how, in the grander scheme of things, how we can just support life as a whole, interdependence, not only with human people, but with the world, the ecosystem, with, my cats that I have, with the fish in the ocean, with everything, not just people, but making sure that, or at least working towards true interdependence, that, we are all supporting each other and connected in that way.
Thanks, Brianna. We're going for that inclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Takes us all, everything, all of life to be supported. So, and I know there's that part about how are we approaching some of that, Rick? Because it takes so much. And I know that you have been involved with this new initiative, or we have been involved with this new initiative that is We Power America. So could you tell us a little bit about what We Power America is about?
Certainly. Actually, I can share my screen a little bit. And it's interesting because of, what Brian was talking about, healing our divides, and what everybody's talking about, making this shift towards connection, as Gwen is talking about, and understanding, our conscious interdependence, like realizing how connected we are all, not just to our fellow humans, but to our fellow creatures and life and the ecosystems that support life on the planet. But to get there and to maybe accelerate our movement there, there's this program called We Power America, Renewable Energy Media Campaign and Movement. And I'm going to share my screen so that we can talk about that a little bit. Can you all see that?
It's happening.
It's happening. Okay, great. So the first thing I want to say is that this is part of a larger concept, which you could call We Power the World. And we're starting in the United States with We Power America because the United States has an outsized influence on the rest of the planet in so many different ways. The United States has is one of the largest, if not the largest, emitter of pollution and greenhouse gases on the planet, but it also has a tremendous influence socially, politically, culturally, economically, environmentally, militarily. So we want to start here and at the same time encourage sister movements in countries around the world so that you can have We Power Brazil and We Power India and other countries. So one of the things that I've been bringing up lately is the 3 Ps, what I call the 3 Ps. Pollution, poverty, pollution, and polarization. And so this campaign is meant to address all of those. It's a renewable energy media campaign and movement, as I mentioned, and it's through the power of we that we believe that society can be transformed. So the goal, the mission of We Power America is to mobilize at least 2 million people in the United States to help make the transition to the green economy that we're talking about. We can see right now that there is huge resistance to this idea of green jobs programs and investment in green infrastructure. It seems like it would be a no-brainer, but it's meeting huge resistance as we speak. So this is about mobilizing millions of people to be part of that, to build a narrative and media message that informs people about the tremendous advantages and benefits of making this transition to renewable energy as the primary energy source in the United States. And then likewise, to powerfully address the extreme political polarization in the US with a unifying message about we and the common good. So we've talked about that a lot, with We the World and the We campaign. And we want to use this campaign, We Power America, to get that message out to major media markets. So we are shifting the narrative around climate, and we want to create a breakthrough for a regenerative future by combining 3 compelling strategies. The targeted regional media campaign, which is like radio ads, public service announcements, press conferences, media appearances, and all of that. Local on-the-ground organizing with town hall meetings with elected officials, campus, college campus talks, concerts, civic actions. And then, of course, this inspired and unifying message about we and the common good. There are many people who've been supporters of We the World over the years, and many of these folks are stepping up now to be part of this. If you'd like to be part of it, you can go to we.net/WPA. That's a pretty simple website that where you can see this, what I've been showing, and you can send a message to wetheworld.org. And that's it. And also, I do want to mention that this is a way that we want to promote what our dear friends and partners at Ubiquity University and Humanity Rising are talking about with the Regeneration Corps. We would love to actually get their message out as part of this major media campaign that could be, the source and the substance of one or more of these TV ads and public service announcements that we're imagining for We Power America. So I just want to mention that because it's a very inclusive concept, and it's about bringing movements together to make this happen. So I guess that's about it for that. Thank you, Shannon.
So yeah, I always like, I always like when Rick says, oh, that's just about it. Like it's just a little, but it's so huge in the fact that we really are bringing together all of these really positive initiatives, everything from like Gwen on the individual level all the way up, because it's all part of the same thing. It's all part of that interdependence that we talk about. So I just want to give anybody a last opportunity before we get to do a little reading. Rick is going to help us do. But is there anything that people just are like burning to have said before we close this opportunity, knowing that there will be others? I guess that's a take it away, Rick. And I just want to say thank you, Brian. Thank you, Gwen. Of course, Brianna. And for our backup work with Richard and Callum, who are helping make this all possible. And to you, Rick. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually going to pop in the chat the link to what we're going to look at now or do together. It's called the Global Declaration of Interdependence. And it's become a tradition now to have a kind of a little reading of it during our panels each year on interdependence. And the history is that we collaborated with the Earth Charter folks. The Earth Charter is this amazing document that has gotten sign off by, I think it's like every country in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And I think most of, if not all, the indigenous peoples of the world.
Yes.
I know Sue Blythe is very involved with that, probably knows more about that. But when we launched 11 Days of Global Unity, we actually consulted with them and we created something that's very short. It's like 11 lines and it is inspired by the Earth Charter. And we're offering it now. I'm going to read the preamble and then I'm going to read one line and you all can say back, the line, like a sort of call and response for each line. So the preamble is in acknowledgement of the many existing documents and efforts that promote peace, sustainability, global interconnectedness, reverence for life and unity. We the World hereby offers the following Declaration of Interdependence as a guiding set of principles. It is inspired by the Earth Charter, the essential values of which represent those of the many peoples of the earth. And here we go. We, the people of planet Earth.
We, the people of planet Earth.
In recognition of the interconnectedness of all life.
In recognition of the interconnectedness of all life.
And the importance of the balance of nature.
And the importance of the balance of nature.
Hereby acknowledge our interdependence.
Hereby
Acknowledge our interdependence.
And affirm our dedication.
And affirm our dedication.
To life-serving environmental stewardship.
To life-serving environmental stewardship.
The fulfillment of universal human needs worldwide.
the fulfillment of universal human needs worldwide,
economic and social well-being,
economic and social well-being,
and a culture of peace and nonviolence
and a culture of peace and nonviolence
to ensure a sustainable and harmonious world
to ensure a sustainable and harmonious world
for present and future generations.
for present and future generations.
Okay, we did it.
I
Thank you.
declare,
I declare.
I declare.
So thank you all so much for coming today and being part of this. And please connect with We the World and the We campaign and 11 Days of Global Unity by going to we.net. The direct link for 11 days is 11daysofglobalunity.org, and the 11 is a numeral. And I guess I'll just end by our the quote from our dear friend Jonathan Granoff, who helped to launch we.net and the We campaign back in 2009. And he gave the keynote address. And the last thing he said was, I hope that we expands so much that there is no longer any them.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you all.